In collaboration with WTJX, the League of Women Voters of the Virgin Islands is pleased to present one-on-one interviews with candidates for the 7th legislative seat in the Virgin Islands from St. Thomas, St. John District. All candidates were contacted and invited to participate. 4 either declined or did not respond to our invitation. I am Gwen Marie Molinar of the League of Women Voters, and today we are pleased to have as our guest Mr. Gilmore Estrill for an interview. Welcome, Mr. Estrill. Please introduce yourself.
Well, it's morning right now, so good day. My name is Gilmore Anthony Estrill Sr., and I am going to be seeking a seat, actually this last seat, for the 32nd legislature. I'm a small business owner, and this is not my first time running, actually my third time running, and I think that I can make a difference. I consider myself the pro-business candidate.
Okay, very good. Now, since only one will be selected from among 13 aspirants, what do you see as your unique characteristics that would encourage voters to select you over the remaining 12?
Well, I think right now there's been an outcry from the community, at least from the business community, about the latest sin tax. And me being a business owner and understands how business operates here in the Virgin Islands, other than any place else in the world. I think that right now the tourism product and the small business product in the Virgin Islands is at jeopardy. I think that the government has lost their way in reference to listening to the business owners and seeing what we need and our struggles to keep our business doors open every day. So I'm more of an operation guy. I understand business because my business, I open it from the ground up, from the marketing, from the budgeting, from the incept to opening the doors. So I understand the struggles like every other business owner, what it takes to operate a business here in the Virgin Islands. And I think that in fact, I know for sure that there's no business-related leaders in our legislature that I know of that understands the fight. It's not about just raising taxes and putting it on the small business. It's about making sure that we can pay our taxes. Making sure that our business thrive and we can keep our doors open and we can hire people and we can excel. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So what would you be able to do? What new revenue generating ideas would you bring to the table as a senator?
Well, I think that right now, that is like the main question. I think that what's really important right now is that we look at our tourism in a whole. I think that we've lost focus on what our product is. If you look at other Caribbean islands, they're excelling, and the latest numbers that we have 20% decreased in our tourism product, and that's a real issue. I grew up in the hotel industry from a young boy, and I remember when the tourism business was thriving. There were so many jobs. The economy was good. I think that what we need to do, and what I'd like to bring to the table is, we need to create a nightlife in the Virgin Islands, just like other Caribbean islands, St. Martin, Barbados. The government needs to take a part in creating an area in St. Thomas where people, not only tourists, but locals can come out, feel safe, and enjoy the evening. We don't have that. In fact, downtown shuts down the same time as the government, 5 o'clock.
Well, what I'd like to know, Mr. Estrill, the things that you are suggesting are things that a business person can do, but you're asking to be elected a senator.
Right.
So what I'd like to know is what kinds of legislation would you be able to, you are seeking to introduce that would promote business in the Virgin Islands?
Well, one of the things that I would like to do is create a legislation called Code. I think that right now we have to see the Virgin Islands through the eyes of a tourist. It's not just going from the airport to the hotel to the beaches. Our tourism products is all the way around the island. Code would enforce every business owner, every homeowner to upkeep their property. Okay, and it would nearly create a new department That means if I have a property, you can't just come next door to me and make your property a junk while I'm taking care of my property. I think with the code department, we'll be able to collect fees, but not only collect fees, but we'll make sure that everybody keeps their property up to code. See, when I leave the plane, I want to be able to drive around the island, and if you go around the island right now, there's areas that you might not want to take the tourists because simply doesn't look good. So I think that the code legislation would not only bring a department into the government, but it'll also enhance our tourism product as well.
And who would decide what the code is?
Well, I think that we would have to do the legislation, and there's other cities that does this, so it's not something that we'll have to create. You could go in certain areas in Florida, is a plush area because they have code enforcement. You have to keep your property clean, you have to keep your grass cut, you have to keep your... In fact, right now, if you go downtown, we have so much abandoned buildings. It doesn't look good. How are we a tourist destination and it looks like some of our streets are abandoned?
Yeah, the question then is going to be, well, where you're going to find the resources to do all of that?
Well, again, I think that, it's something that we would have to sell to the public. I think that, it would have to have an initial fee for every homeowner and business owner. What I'd like to see is they get credits on their property tax as well for keeping their property up to standard.
Well, let's talk about other issues here in the Virgin Islands besides the ones that you've just raised.
Yes.
Can you identify two other issues that are of concern to you as a senator?
Of course. I think one of the top issues right now is our crime. I think that, not even looking through the eyes of a tourist, just looking through the eyes of a local, looking through the eyes of a business owner. Every day we are concerned that we might be robbed.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Estrill, what I want to do, because we have a very limited time.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want you to identify them, and then I'll pick up on just one of them, and we can talk about that.
Okay, so there's a lot of concerns.
So you have crimes, so we spoke about business.
Right.
And we spoke about crime, and what's the third one that you see?
I think the third one is the sin tax.
That's part of revenue generation.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that we also have to look at our hospitals as well. Okay. The hospital is a big importance to me.
Yeah.
I think, because, in my business, I have a lot of medical professionals that come to my business, and they tell me about all the issues that we have in the hospital.
Yeah.
And because of, poor equipment and all the different other stuff that they're going through. And so we really need to figure out how we're going to sustain our hospital.
Okay, so you've identified three areas that
Yes.
you would be interested in: revenue generation, crime, and hospitals. So let me ask you this question. These are concerns that you have, and one of the things you're going to have to do is solve problems.
Right.
So could you give me an idea of what your general approach is to problem solving and how you would go about coming up with solutions to these areas in a general way? Okay,
so again, I'm an operational guy. So the way I look at things, I need to understand how everything operates. And by understanding how it operates, then I might be able to make recommendations or suggestions on how to fix it. So the first thing I would want to do as a senator is look into the areas that I'm concerned about and see how it operates. See if there's redundancy in the operation. See how we can implement other measures to help that operation. Now, one of the things that I would love to do is I would really love to sit down and look at our tourist product from the way we've been marketing to where we need to go to compete with other islands.
So you're getting back to just general approaches.
Right.
So first of all, you look at the way things operate, and
Right.
then you move from there to what?
To making recommendations.
Mm-hmm. And what would your recommendations be? How would you come up with recommendations? Would you?
Well, I guess one of the things that I like to do is I like to listen. Okay. Now I understand how business operates, and I do this every day. So and I won't be the one to say I have all the right ideas either, but I would listen to people that's involved, that deal with the situation on a day-to-day basis, and listen to their recommendations, and pull from that pool and make some recommendations of my own. I think that there are a lot of people that's in the industry or work in the industry that get overshadowed, overlooked. Nobody listens to their concern, and right now there's a sentiment in the Virgin Islands that people, they just have given up to make recommendations, and they just sit down and let things happen. And I have a motto about that. You know, my motto is, it's easy to give up, but it's better to get up.
Great. Okay, let me ask about, so with the time that we have remaining, GERS. Do you think the legislature has a role to play in resolving the GERS crisis?
You know, I think that the legislature has oversight, and they have an oversight responsibility in making sure that the GRS is funded. They also have an oversight responsibility to make sure that it is managed correctly. And I think that that is something that we have definitely overlooked. I don't think the GRS has been managed correctly. I think that they've made some bad investments. And I think that right now, the system is projected to crash. So somebody has to intervene.
Yeah, so how do you see the legislature intervening?
Well, again, I think that, you know, you can't, the legislature cannot go in and manage the agency.
Of course.
Okay? They can only use their oversight responsibility to sit with the management of the GRS and make recommendations. And if they have to curtail the laws, then they do it at that point. But as far as, you know, the legislature going in there to correct a department, they're not allowed to do that. But they're allowed to use their oversight responsibility to make sure that it does get done.
What do you think about district governance, the pros and cons?
Well, you know, when I ran back in 2000, and I still believe in district governance, I think that you should be able to go to a particular person with your concerns and not have to just, I think the way our legislature is run, nobody has a real responsibility to any particular area. They have a responsibility for all the areas, but I think that we need to go to district, and I think that we need to start thinking about reducing our government. You know, I think that we need to, you know, we keep talking, and I'm for it. In fact, if I was elected, I would push for a part-time legislature, at least a part-time senator, allow me to still run my business and attend senatorial meetings. But I think our government is too heavy, and we really need to start looking at ways to reduce the legislature and the entire government in a whole.
Well, that leads me to the question about senators' pay. If elected as senator, you'll be among one of the highest paid legislators in the nation.
Right.
And given the size of our population, as you have just said, the question remains, why are senators being paid so much when we have people like teachers and other public servants who are grossly underpaid? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, again, you heard it from my mouth. I would prefer to be a part-time legislator. I would prefer to be able to go and work part-time, just like other states, and keep the staff and, you know. But yes, I believe that our legislators are paid way too much money, but somebody has to go in there and start the process. I don't think that no senator is going to send themselves home. But I think that somebody has to be an advocate for reducing the legislature, reducing the government in a whole.
So are you in favor of fewer senators then? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. I think that 15 senators is way too much. You know, I think that we should go to 7 senators, 4 on each island, 1 at large.
Given that, what other election reform matters would you be in favor of?
I would like to see the Attorney General elected, the police commissioner elected.
What about the lieutenant governor position?
In reference to
election, being elected or appointed, you see, our lieutenant governor, as you well know, is entirely different from the other lieutenant governors that you find stateside. Our lieutenant governor has significant responsibilities such as banking and insurance, whereas in the States, essentially, these are people in waiting.
Right.
So should that person be elected in the Virgin Islands, given we expect a certain level of expertise in certain areas?
I think that, you know, in reference to lieutenant governor, and I haven't given much thought, but I definitely think that we need somebody, especially with the banking experience, We need to have the type of educated people to run those agencies. And I think it's because the way we have run our government in the past, we continue to go down that road. So yes, we need more reform, and it has to make sense. It has to make sense. And
Mr. Estrill, I've enjoyed speaking with you. You clearly have a lot of ideas
Yes.
and thoughts on certain issues, and I want to thank you for sharing your thoughts with the voters, and thank you WTJX for this time. The League of Women Voters of the Virgin Islands encourages all eligible voters to vote on April 8th. Those who come out to vote and convince others to do the same help determine who our leaders will be. We have major issues in the Virgin Islands that require capable and informed leadership. Your vote can determine who will fill that vacant seat in our legislature. So, see you at the polls on April 8th.